What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in Washington, D.C., in the United States, money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which is $3.5 trillion and is in the House of Representatives as they're trying to bundle it up and pass it. But we have these other issues that are quickly becoming the number one national crisis in the United States, with a government shutdown that will happen on September 30th at midnight if they don't quickly pass a annual budget or a continuing resolution for the government. We will see a government shutdown on October 1st or September 30th at midnight. That's number one. Also, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the government will run out of money and will essentially go bankrupt if they don't raise the debt limit. For the first time ever, the government will run out of money. Yeah, which is catastrophic. Catastrophic. We do not want to see the government default. It would be the worst thing ever. We have that issue. And last night, the House of Representatives passed a bill, which is a combined bill, which has both a government shutdown in there to prevent a government shutdown and to suspend the debt limit ceiling. But it went basically upon party lines. 220 Democrats voted yes to avert a government shutdown and suspend the debt limit ceiling so the government will not default. But all the Republicans voted no. There was one Republican that had that didn't vote. So the problem is that when it goes over to the Senate, which could happen later tonight or tomorrow or whenever it's going to happen, I'll keep you updated on that. It is not going to pass the Senate if we don't get 10 Republican senators to vote yes on this. So a government shutdown will happen, and a default on the U.S. government for not raising the debt limit ceiling will happen if they don't either pass this bill or the Democrats can do this on their own, which is what Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is basically forcing the Democrats to do, which they can do through reconciliation. But the problem with that is that's a little more complicated because, number one, we're running out of time with the end of the month basically being about 7 days away now. And to do the reconciliation process, as you guys know, is a long, convoluted process. Number two, the stimulus package is going to be thousands and thousands of pages, maybe even 5,000 pages. Number three, there's 220 Democrats in the House, 50 Democrats in the Senate. We basically need all of them to agree to this package with the stimulus package, everything in there. Then the government shut down the debt limit ceiling, and we have all sorts of Democrats that are still trying to figure everything out. We have Democrats saying the SALT limit cap needs to be in there or they're not going to vote for it. We have Democrats saying the infrastructure package has to be voted on Monday in 5 days. And we have all these Democrats saying that all these things need to be in there. And honestly, it's a 50-50 chance that they might not be able to do this in time. And meanwhile, the Republicans are saying they're not going to raise the debt limit ceiling, which essentially is saying that the government will default. It's like a high-stakes game of chicken. Here's what Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has to say. Check this out.
I want to focus for a minute on the debt ceiling. Look, we all agree America must never default. The debt ceiling will need to be raised. We have a Democratic president, Democratic House, a Democratic Senate. They have decided to, with the possible exception of infrastructure, all year long to operate on a partisan basis. A $1.9 trillion bill earlier this year that all of us opposed for darn good reason, and this reckless tax and spending measure, which could range from $3.5 trillion to $5 trillion. So my advice to this Democratic government, the President, the House, and the Senate, don't play Russian roulette with our economy. Step up and raise the debt ceiling to cover all that you've been engaged in all year long. So no effort on their part to describe our position as irresponsible makes any sense, because the facts are indisputable. This is a totally democratic government. They have an obligation to raise the debt ceiling, and they will do it.
So Mitch McConnell, you heard him reference there that because the Democrats passed the $1.9 trillion third stimulus check package that he was against and all the Republicans were against. Remember that not a single Republican voted yes on the third stimulus package, the $1.9 trillion package. You heard him reference it there. And that because not a single Republican is in favor of the $3.5 trillion package, which he says could go up to over $5 trillion. I think we all know at this point that's very unlikely to happen. In fact, it's more likely that it's going to be less than $3.5 trillion. That because Republicans are not in favor of either of these package, that is why they refuse to vote yes to raise the debt limit ceiling. But remember, the debt limit ceiling needs to be raised every year to two, depending on how long they agree to raise it. It's insane that they have to actually do this every year. It's like the annual budget, the government shutdown that they have to do at the end of the year as well. It's insane that they have to do this every year, or else they have a government shutdown. You would think at the bare minimum they would do this for at least 2 years, because to have this high stakes game of chicken, I mean, how many times have we had government shutdowns as well? They should not have to do this every year. Remember, they raised the debt limit ceiling 3 times during former President Donald Trump's presidency. And former President Donald Trump added over $8 trillion in just 4 years to the national debt. And they raised the debt limit ceiling 3 times in 4 years. And they did that with Republicans and Democrats, because you have to do that or else the government defaults. And that's never been done before. And Mitch McConnell doesn't want to raise it. He's told all the Republicans not to do it this time around because, well, you just heard him say it, because they weren't in favor of the third stimulus check package or this next stimulus package. So basically, he's not in favor of giving any more stimulus to the people of the United States at all. And that's why he is not in favor of raising the debt limit ceiling, even though they have to do this or else the government will default. And they have to do this just to pay the past interest on all the debt for all the past years, not just former President Donald Trump's debt, not just the debt going forward, all the debt ever accumulated for our country ever. Yeah, and remember, the government runs a deficit every single year, almost every single year. Whether it's President Biden, whether it's former President Donald Trump, any president, very few years has the government actually ran a surplus. We run a deficit almost every single year. And remember that the past 3 stimulus packages were all deficits, the first, second, and third stimulus check package, and the 2017 Trump tax cuts, which were done through the reconciliation process, by the way. The Republicans had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency back then. It added over $2 trillion to the national deficit. They did that without a single Democratic vote, and they didn't raise taxes or anything like that. It just went to the national deficit. This next stimulus package, though, the $3.5 trillion and the bipartisan infrastructure package, the $1.2 trillion, which does have Republican support. Mitch McConnell voted for it, and Democratic support. Both of those packages are paid for, or will be almost fully paid for. Whether it's going to be 90% paid for or 100% paid for, we don't know the exact amount yet. But they are raising taxes on corporations, wealthy individuals, using leftover stimulus money, and creative financing, like forcing pharmaceutical companies to lower their prescription drug prices by like doing things like they have to sell the prescription drug prices to the government for the same prices they sell to other countries for, and that alone can save the U.S. government like $600 to $700 billion, and they'll use that savings to pay for part of this next stimulus package. So yeah, now they're going to have to do all this, or else A, the government will shut down at the end of this month, and B, we'll have a default sometime in October if they don't raise the debt ceiling. So that's what Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to say. Here's a couple things that President Biden has to say here recently. President Biden says here, my Republican friends are attacking my plan, saying it is, quote, big spending. I have to laugh when I hear that one. These are the same folks who passed the 2017 Trump tax cuts, almost $2 trillion, a giant giveaway to corporations and the top 1%, and almost none of it was paid for. He says in another tweet, I can't believe this has to be said, but a teacher shouldn't pay a higher tax rate than a hedge fund manager. In another tweet, he says, today in this country, the top 1% evade an estimated $160 billion in taxes each year. 55 of the most profitable corporations in America paid $0 in federal income taxes on $40 billion in profit in 2020. That's of the S&P 500, the top 500 corporations. It just isn't right, and my economic plan will change that. And remember that for this next stimulus package, that is what they're doing. They're raising taxes on corporations and wealthy individuals to help pay for this $3.5 trillion stimulus package. And there's actually some Democratic senators that are saying that if the package isn't fully paid for, that they won't vote for it. So we will see what happens there. Also, it's come out that former Treasury Secretaries Henry Paulson and Steve Mnuchin have talked with Mitch McConnell here recently and tried to diffuse the debt ceiling situation with Mitch McConnell and tried to convince him to, because Mitch McConnell is basically spearheading this entire effort that has come out, that even Republican senators have said that he has told Republican senators not to vote that he's told Republican senators to vote against raising the debt ceiling to force the Democrats to do this. Democrats will do this if they can, but the problem is they might not be able to because of the time constraints on doing this. But former Treasury Secretaries Henry Paulson and Steve Mnuchin apparently have had private talks with McConnell, urging him to vote yes to raise the debt ceiling, and Mitch McConnell has refused. There's also some interesting articles in the news that, check this out, this is a really interesting thing. The Biden administration could sidestep Mitch McConnell's refusal to pay America's bills with the debt limit ceiling by minting a $1 trillion platinum coin. Yeah, and this idea has also been used before for stimulus checks. Yeah. So check this out here. Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal, and Rashida Tlaib have previously introduced a bill to deliver recurring payments for stimulus checks that would immediately provide a $2,000 monthly payment to every person in America as critical relief during the pandemic, followed by $1,000 monthly recurring payments throughout the ongoing pandemic. Yeah, so $2,000 payments to every person in America, followed by $1,000 monthly recurring payments. Let me zoom this in a little. Yeah, this ABC Act would be funded directly from the Treasury with no additional debt issued by minting two $1 trillion coins and additional coins as necessary. So apparently, this is an actual idea. And Representative Jayapal, who's the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, has said this previously that they could do this for stimulus checks. This is back in the news. Apparently, they're thinking about doing this as well to sidestep temporarily the debt limit ceiling. And I know at first glance this seems kind of weird. I think this seems kind of weird too. But if you actually kind of think about it, the United States does actually print their own currency. So if they print $100 bills, right? Just think about printing $100 bills. I guess they could print a $1 trillion coin or just print a lot of $100 bills. Check this out. Again, it seems kind of weird, but if you think about it, if the United States prints their own currency, they could just print a lot of currency or a $1 trillion coin. That's why I like to show you these articles. This is directly from Business Insider, which is a very reputable news source. So yeah, here it is. Oh, and by the way, this other article from Pramila Jayapal to introduce recurring direct stimulus payments is from Pramila Jayapal's house.gov government website. So if that's not credible, I mean, it's literally her or her house.government website. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has firmly dug in on the Republicans refusing to help renew the U.S.'s ability to pay off its bills, known as the debt ceiling. Instead, the Kentucky Republicans said it's up to the Democrats to raise it in order to finance their social spending plans on healthcare, education, and childcare. He insisted that he's not bluffing. But the conundrum could have a coin-sized solution, a loophole in the law that prescribes the type of coins that can legally be minted in the US theoretically allows the Treasury Department to mint a $1 trillion platinum coin, deposit it at the Federal Reserve, and then continue paying its bills as normal. Apparently, this is a thing. Whether or not they go this route as a temporary measure, I mean, however long $1 trillion would last, apparently this could actually be done. Apparently, former President Donald Trump, back in 2017 interview with Crooked Media, that a senior official had considered minting a coin to stave off a potential catastrophic default in the past. As crazy as it sounds, it does sound kind of crazy, but then when you think about the United States just prints its own currency anyways, trillions of dollars in paper bills, yeah, I don't know if they're going to actually go that route, but I thought it was interesting enough to share it with you that if push comes to shove and they don't have enough time to pass the stimulus bill and the reconciliation route, or if they don't have enough votes with Joe Manchin not agreeing to it at the last moment, or the Republicans don't agree to it, maybe that's a route they go at the last minute and say, just print $1 trillion coin or a lot of $100 bills. Yeah, it is in the news. And Pramila Jayapal, who's the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, says that they could do it for stimulus checks too. So there's that as well. By the way, here is Pramila Jayapal on, well, this entire issue and the stimulus package.
You are in the middle of some high stakes negotiations and having high stakes meetings and really in the middle of crunch time right now. Tell me if I characterize sort of the moment in the right way, tell me in your own words where you think this process is right now and how close the Democrats are to a decision.
Yeah, and Rachel, you characterized it perfectly. I just want to take us back just a minute to when President Biden got elected, and actually even before that, during the campaign, what he campaigned on. It was on childcare, universal childcare, paid leave, making sure we repair housing, making sure we address climate change, expanding healthcare, addressing immigration. These were all things that he campaigned on. And when he became president, this was the agenda that he put forward. And it was called the Build Back Better agenda. We progressives 3.5 months ago said, let's just pass the whole thing together, jobs, infrastructure, and all of these other pieces that I mentioned, which are the largest part of the president's agenda. When it became clear that some moderate Democrats, conservative Democrats, whatever you want to call it, wanted to have a bipartisan infrastructure bill, then we said we are not willing to leave out women from coming back to the workforce by getting childcare. We are not willing to leave out health care. And so we will agree to that bipartisan bill if and only if we also pass the reconciliation bill first. That was our position. We whipped our members on it. Over half of the Progressive Caucus 3 months ago today said we will vote for both bills. We will vote for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is much smaller. And frankly, Rachel, it has a lot of things that our members don't like. But if we can get the reconciliation bill that has the majority of the president's agenda in it, the majority of what we ran on, then we will vote for both bills. That has been our position 3 months ago. It remains our position today. Now, when the Senate passed the bipartisan bill, Senator Sanders, Senator Warren, many other progressive senators only voted for that bipartisan bill because they were given a commitment by the senators in the Democratic Party and the president that we would move these two things together, the reconciliation bill, the Build Back Better Act, as it's called now, and the bipartisan bill. So they come over to the House, and all of a sudden, the tables get turned on us. And we are now finding that people are saying, oh, no, just pass the infrastructure bill. And you know what? We'll get to childcare later. We'll get to paid leave later. Well, Rachel, we are committed to delivering the entirety of the president's agenda to the president's desk.
Yeah, so a lot of the progressive Democrats are saying that they might not pass the physical infrastructure bill if the stimulus package is not passed first. And the physical infrastructure bill is set to be voted on Monday, which is the 27th, which is now 5-ish or less days away. And the government shutdown is going to happen in 8 days or less away. And then we have the government default going to happen sometime in October. And the stimulus package up in the air as well. The stimulus package is supposed to be passed before the infrastructure package, which is has a date set to be voted on Monday. And time is running out on all this stuff. And a lot of progressive Democrats are going to be very upset if the stimulus package is not passed before then. And I don't know if that's going to get done. And then we're going to have a lot of progressive Democrats that are very upset that the stimulus package, if it's not passed before then. And the date is set, the 27th. And if they don't vote on the infrastructure package on the 27th, then we're going to have the moderate Democrats mad that they don't vote on the 27th because that has been the promised date. Yeah, so we literally have a lot going on. I'm going to keep you up to date on all this stuff literally as it unfolds because there's a lot. Government shutdown, possible government defaults. They have to avert both those crises. We have the infrastructure vote on Monday, and we have the stimulus package and all this stuff. And remember, the Republicans are saying they're not going to vote on the raising the debt limit ceiling. And if they don't do that, the government will default if the Democrats can't find a way to vote on it themselves. But will the Democrats have time to do all that and get everybody to agree on that? So I'm going to keep you updated on all this stuff. As the information comes out, I will be here to tell you guys about it. Remember, new videos come out on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. After subscribing, click the bell icon that appears next to the subscribe button, and then click it to all notifications to get reminder notifications when we go live with new videos. You can also click the share button down below to share this video with your friends and family so that they know what is going on with our government in Washington, D.C., and with this next stimulus package. You can click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how President Biden is in favor of raising Social Security benefits. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.